Hi, I'm Tim. Welcome to Watchbox, and thanks for logging on. If you love this watch, email me, tmosso at thewatchbox.com. It's in the description below. It's your pricing email question line for your questions about the pricing of this or any watch you see on any Watchbox platform. Please reach out to me directly, tmosso at thewatchbox.com. It's in the description below. Today, we are discussing a gorgeous model launched at SIHH 2012, 41mm in stainless steel. This is the Audemars Piguet Royal Oak Extra Thin Tourbillon, reference 26512ST. The timepiece is broad, extra thin, as its moniker suggests, and incredibly substantial in feel. 41mm in diameter by 8.9mm thick. The watch is 51mm from lug to lug, and if we include these little rigid intermediate plots that flare out at the end, the absolute distance across the wrist here is 53.5mm. So the watch is thin, it's broad, it's flat, and we're going to put it on my 16cm circumference wrist and get a sense of how it fits. As with every Royal Oak and offshore, it wears larger than its rated size. You really need to think of it as a 43mm round watch to get the idea. I recommend this watch for a wrist no smaller than 15cm circumference, but you can see I'm wearing it well at 16, and it is very flat. This should be a non-contentious statement, but it will fit underneath any kind of a cuff. It is a very flat watch, appropriate for dress attire, but it's also sports casual. It's a steel watch after all. Wear it with anything all the time. Over the top, you can see, down the barrel, and then the cuff shot one more time. Let's take a look at the hardware. The bracelet is always the wonder on any Royal Oak, as these in steel take 9 to 11 hours to hand finish, and they are beautifully detailed. You can see these little polished tips to the intermediate links that are mostly invisible inside the bracelet. You can see the channels finished between the links so that they have room to articulate. The bevels that run perfectly aligned from the lug hood down along the shoulders of the individual links, the perfectly aligned satination across the top, and the vertical satination on the side. If I hold the links together, I can see the taper of the bracelet, but I can't actually feel the step down from link to link. That's how finely executed the tolerances are, and of course removable links are fixed by screws. Unlike Patek, AP never downgraded to pin sleeves. The double deployant clasp is a twin trigger, twin fold, and I have to say it feels as solid as an offshore clasp. It's media blasted and satinated with a few well-chosen polished accents, thoughtfully detailed as is the entire watch. The case is also beautifully made. You have those diminishing bevels from the lug hoods to the mid case, a perfectly aligned crease lines from the bezel through the case back. The hairline expression of the bezel gasket, which has been a feature of every Audemars Piguet Royal Oak since Gerald Genta penned the first one back in 1972. We have a push-down hexagonal crown here, and the hexagonal form is echoed by the bezel bolts, and they are bezel bolts, not screwed. They are fixed by a nut on the reverse side. This is how you're able to align the slots of the bolts to encircle the dial. They are made of white gold, and you can see that white gold is substantially warmer than the silver white of the steel, and it makes for an interesting contrast. The rounded octagon form of the bezel, inspired by a vintage diving helmet, and it surrounds a Petite Tapisserie dial, which is not the Grand model that you find on, for example, the 15500 or the 15400. This is the small hobnail that you find on the Jumbo, meaning it has very small hobnails with a super fine texture across the surfaces, and as of 2012, they're still made on a vintage pantograph mimicry lathe, but they're made in-house at Audemars Piguet these days. Black galvanized. You can see the hands as well as the indices are white gold. There will be a loom shot. We have a black polished steel bridge for the tourbillon. I decided to shoot the tourbillon static here so you can get a better view of it. You could see that the tourbillon carriage itself is a combination of satination and black polish, many black polished screws with chamfered slots and circumference. The tourbillon features an overcoil hairspring made by hand. It's a tri-spoke tourbillon that is a 1-minute period, and it beats away at 21,600 vibrations per hour. Again, 50 meters water resistant in spite of the push-down crown. We'll pop open the case back here and take a look. The movement. I haven't really popped open the case back. I've popped open the clasp, so you can see the case back. In pocket watch fashion, a nod to AP's glorious 19th century history, as well as early 20th century, here we have the caliber 2924 Manual wind, 70-hour power reserve. You can see there's a power reserve indicator built in. We have true mirrored chamfering on the edge of the bridges, so everywhere you see something lighting up, glinting and gleaming, that is a real mirrored anglage. It's not the mechanically applied bevel that you'll find on, for example, the Code 1159s or the 15500. This is a true hand-finished Audemars Piguet movement. You can see that the bridge for the Tourbillon is also black polished on the underside with engine turning on the bottom of the carriage, perfectly aligned Côte de Genève, handsomely laid down by abrasive wheel, not stamped. Again, all the screw heads on the reverse side black polished, and you'll appreciate that all of the wheels are also satinated and chamfered internally, which is uncommon and beautiful. This, again, a 70-hour manual wind movement, but you will enjoy interacting with your watch every 2 to 3 days. Very special in its aesthetic, and quite thin at under 4.5 millimeters thick, allowing this watch to be less than 9 millimeters thick. Please reach out to Tim Mosso at thewatchbox.com for purchase and pricing details. Back with the Royal Oak Tourbillon, which I should mention pivots on 25 jewels and is adjusted in 5 positions.